Leadership. It's a word we hear everywhere. Boardrooms, classrooms, even in the quiet corners of family life. But what does it truly mean to lead? Is it about holding a title, commanding respect, or giving orders? Or is it something deeper, something timeless, that transcends positions and job descriptions? The truth is, leadership is not about authority. It's about influence. It's about the ability to inspire, to move people, and to create a vision that others want to be part of. Leadership is not limited to CEOs or politicians. It's found in parents raising children, teachers shaping young minds, friends guiding one another, and individuals who take responsibility in times of crisis. Think about it. Every great change in history began with someone who dared to think like a leader. Someone who saw what others couldn't see. Someone who had the courage to step forward when others hesitated. Someone who chose responsibility over comfort. That's the essence of leadership, and it's as relevant today as it was centuries ago. Why timeless principles matter in a changing world. We live in a world that's constantly evolving. Technology is rewriting the way we communicate, economies rise and fall, and cultures adapt to new realities every day. And yet, amidst all this change, the core principles of leadership remain unchanged. Integrity, vision, courage, empathy, resilience, these are not trends. They are eternal qualities that have shaped the course of human history. The leaders of ancient times may not have had smartphones or social media, but they faced the same human challenges. How to inspire, how to unite, how to guide others through uncertainty. And the principles they relied on are still the ones we must master today. The hidden power of everyday leadership. You might be thinking, but I'm not a leader. I don't run a company or lead an army. But here's the truth. You are a leader already. Every day, in ways you may not even realize, you influence others. When you make a decision that your family follows, when you encourage a friend who feels lost, when you stand up for what is right, those are acts of leadership. Leadership is not about having followers. It's about taking ownership. It's about living in a way that others can look to and say, if they can do it, so can I. Leadership as a responsibility, not a position. The danger with modern life is that too many people wait for someone else to step up. We assume leadership is reserved for important people with titles, but in reality, the world is starving for genuine leaders in everyday places. Leaders who act with integrity, who put service before self, and who can light the way when others feel lost. Leadership begins the moment you take responsibility, not when you are given authority. Why this book matters for you. This audiobook isn't about management hacks or corporate jargon. It's about rediscovering the timeless principles that every great leader has lived by, and showing you how to apply them in your own life. Whether you're guiding a team at work, raising a family, building a business, or simply trying to live with more purpose, the lessons inside will equip you to think differently, act boldly, and influence others in a way that leaves a lasting impact. We'll talk about the mindset that sets leaders apart, the vision that keeps them moving, the integrity that earns them trust, and the resilience that allows them to keep going even when everything seems against them. Most importantly, we'll explore how leadership is less about you and more about the lives you touch. A journey worth taking. So, as you listen to this audiobook, I want you to keep one question at the front of your mind. What kind of leader do I want to be? Because leadership is not about waiting for the right moment. It's about creating the right moment. It's not about hoping someone else will step forward. It's about realizing that maybe, just maybe, you are the one meant to step up. By the end of this journey, you'll discover that leadership is not distant, complicated, or out of reach. It is practical, it is human, and it is within you already. You simply need to unlock it. So let's begin, because the world doesn't just need more people. The world needs more leaders. And the best time to start thinking like one is now. Chapter 1. The Mindset of a Leader. Thinking Beyond Yourself. What separates a leader from the crowd? Is it intelligence, charisma, or natural talent? While these qualities may help, the true foundation of leadership begins with mindset. The way a leader thinks, the lens through which they see themselves, others, and the world, shapes every action they take. At the heart of this mindset lies one powerful principle: a leader does not think only of themselves. They think beyond their own interests, beyond their own comfort, and beyond their own ego. Leaders understand that their actions ripple outward, influencing families, teams, communities, and even generations to come. Shifting from me to we. Most people live with a self-focused mindset. They ask, "What's in it for me? How does this benefit me?" But a leader shifts the question to, "How does this benefit others? How can this decision create growth, trust, or opportunity for those I serve?" History is filled with examples of this. True leaders are remembered not for what they took, but for what they gave. They understood that their success was tied to the success of the people around them. That is why the most powerful shift any aspiring leader can make is moving from a me mentality to a we mentality. This doesn't mean ignoring your own needs. It means recognizing that your greatest fulfillment comes not from what you achieve alone, but from what you enable others to achieve. Vision beyond the present moment. Another part of the leader's mindset is the ability to think beyond the immediate. While many people focus only on today's struggles and today's rewards, leaders train their minds to see further. They look ahead. They imagine what could be, not just what is. Think of a gardener planting seeds. A casual observer might see a bare patch of dirt, but the gardener sees an orchard in the making. Leaders carry that same kind of vision. They see potential where others see emptiness. They see possibility where others see obstacles. And most importantly, they act on that vision. This is why leadership requires patience and resilience. It's about playing the long game. Leaders make decisions today with the future in mind, even when the benefits may not be visible right away. Responsibility over comfort. The leader's mindset also means embracing responsibility instead of chasing comfort. Let's be honest. Most people avoid responsibility whenever they can. Responsibility means being accountable. It means carrying weight. It means answering for mistakes. But leaders willingly step into responsibility because they know that someone must. They don't wait for someone else to take action. They recognize that responsibility is not a burden. It is the very definition of leadership. When others hesitate, leaders decide. When others run away, leaders step forward. This doesn't mean they have no fear. On the contrary, leaders feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is they don't let fear make their decisions. They let responsibility guide them. Humility and confidence. A balanced mindset. Great leaders also balance two qualities that often seem opposite: humility and confidence. Confidence allows a leader to take bold action, to believe in their vision, and to inspire others to follow. Humility reminds them that they don't have all the answers, that they can learn from others, and that leadership is about service, not ego. A leader without humility becomes arrogant. A leader without confidence becomes timid. But the right mindset blends both. Leaders are confident enough to move forward, yet humble enough to listen, adapt, and grow. Leaders think in terms of legacy. Ask yourself this: when your life is over, what will you be remembered for? What impact will remain after you're gone? Leaders think in terms of legacy. They understand that their influence is not just about immediate results but about creating something that endures. This doesn't mean you need to change the entire world. Sometimes your legacy is found in how you shaped your family, how you inspired your friends, or how you lifted your community. The leader's mindset is always asking, will this choice make a lasting difference? Am I building something that will outlive me? Turning adversity into opportunity. A final key to the leader's mindset is how they respond to adversity. Everyone faces setbacks, failures, and challenges. But while most people complain or collapse, Leaders see adversity as a teacher. They ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this hardship make me stronger? How can I use this to help others grow?" This perspective transforms obstacles into opportunities. It turns failure into fuel. It allows leaders to keep moving forward when others give up. Practical steps to develop a leader's mindset. You might be wondering, how can I develop this mindset in my own life? Here are a few practices you can begin right away. Ask better questions. Instead of, "What do I get from this?" ask, "How does this benefit others?" Practice long-term thinking. Before making a decision, ask yourself how it will affect you and others 5 or 10 years from now. Take responsibility, even when you don't have to. Volunteer for challenges. Be the one others can rely on. Balance confidence with humility. Speak boldly, but also listen deeply. See failure as feedback. Every setback carries a lesson. Train your mind to look for it. Over time, these habits shape the way you think. And once your thinking changes, your leadership changes. Closing thought. The mindset of a leader is not about being perfect. It's about being willing. Willing to see beyond yourself. Willing to take responsibility. Willing to think long-term. Willing to serve others while building something greater than yourself. If you want to think like a leader, start here, with your mindset. Because every great action, every inspiring vision, every movement that ever changed the world, began first in the mind of someone who dared to think differently. Chapter 2. The Power of Vision. Seeing what others cannot. Every leader who has left a lasting mark on the world possessed something rare: vision. Not eyesight, but foresight. Vision is the ability to see what others cannot. It is the skill of looking beyond present circumstances, beyond limitations, and imagining a future that doesn't yet exist. Where most people see obstacles, a leader sees opportunity. Where most see the ordinary, a leader sees the extraordinary. Vision is what transforms a simple idea into a movement, a struggling group into a thriving community, and an uncertain future into a hopeful reality. Without vision, leadership becomes aimless. With vision, even the smallest step forward carries purpose. What is vision in leadership? Vision is not wishful thinking. It's not fantasy or daydreaming. Vision is a clear mental picture of a preferred future. It's a compass that points toward possibility and progress. To lead without vision is like trying to sail a ship without a destination. You may be moving, but you're drifting aimlessly. Vision gives direction. It answers the questions: where are we going? Why does it matter? What will life look like when we get there? Vision separates leaders from followers. Followers see what is. Leaders see what could be. Think about some of the greatest leaders in history. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just describe the reality of racial injustice. He painted a vision of a world where children of all races could play together in harmony. Steve Jobs didn't just talk about computers. He envisioned technology that was so simple and elegant it became part of everyday life. These leaders didn't just manage the present. They inspired people by pointing to a future that was brighter, bolder, and better. That is the essence of vision. Why vision matters? Vision matters because it gives people hope. Hope is the fuel that drives human progress. Without it, people become stuck, discouraged, and directionless. But when a leader provides vision, suddenly there's a reason to move forward, a reason to endure hardship, and a reason to believe. Vision also unites people. It gives them a common goal that is bigger than their individual desires. When people rally around a shared vision, they find strength in each other, and ordinary individuals achieve extraordinary things together. The courage to see what others don't. Having vision often means standing apart from the crowd. When you see a future others cannot, you may face doubt, criticism, or even ridicule. People might call you unrealistic or foolish. But leaders with true vision are not swayed by the voices of skepticism. They understand something profound. Every great achievement in history was once called impossible. Flying across the ocean, curing diseases, sending humans to space. Each of these began with someone who dared to see differently. Vision requires courage, because to see what others cannot is only the first step. You must also be willing to pursue it when others do not yet believe. Developing your own vision. You might be asking, how can I develop vision in my own leadership? The truth is, vision isn't a gift reserved for a few. It's a skill anyone can nurture. Here are some ways to cultivate it. Look beyond the present. Don't just accept reality as it is. Ask yourself, what could this become? Train your mind to see potential, not just problems. Imagine the ideal outcome. If there were no limits, what would the best version of your future look like? Let yourself dream boldly before narrowing it down to what's achievable. Pay attention to patterns. Leaders notice trends others miss. Look at the direction things are heading and consider how you can shape them for the better. Listen to your inner convictions. Often, your vision aligns with your deepest values. What matters most to you, what breaks your heart, or what excites you. Articulate it clearly. A vision only has power when it's shared. Practice putting your vision into simple, compelling words so others can see it as vividly as you do. Vision and sacrifice go together. Every vision has a cost. To chase a bold future, you may have to let go of comfort, security, or immediate rewards. A leader with vision accepts this. They understand that sacrifice today paves the way for transformation tomorrow. Think of a builder laying the foundation of a cathedral. It may take years before the structure begins to rise, and they may not even live to see its completion. Yet they build with faith in the vision. True leaders embrace the same patience and perseverance. The power of shared vision. A leader's vision is not meant to remain private. The real power of vision is its ability to inspire others. A vision held by one person is just a dream. A vision shared by many becomes a movement. To inspire others with vision, a leader must communicate it with passion. People don't just follow ideas, they follow the energy and conviction behind them. Connect it to people's lives. Show them how the vision makes their future better, safer, or more meaningful. Model commitment. Nothing kills vision faster than a leader who doesn't live by it. When others see you sacrificing for your vision, they'll believe it's worth following. Examples of vision in everyday leadership. Vision is not only for world leaders or CEOs. It applies to every area of life. A parent with vision doesn't just raise a child for survival. They raise them to thrive, to contribute, to live with purpose. A teacher with vision doesn't just deliver lessons. They inspire a love for learning that lasts beyond the classroom. A manager with vision doesn't just complete tasks. They build a culture where people grow and flourish. In each case, vision lifts people out of the ordinary and points them toward a higher possibility. Practical exercise. Craft your vision statement. Right now, think about one area of your life, your career, your family, or your community. Ask yourself, what do I want this to look like 5 years from now? What impact do I want to have on the people around me? What kind of legacy do I want to leave in this area? Now, try to capture that vision in 1 or 2 sentences. Make it specific, positive, and inspiring. This becomes your personal vision statement, a compass you can return to when you face challenges or lose focus. Closing thought. Vision is the heartbeat of leadership. It's what allows you to lead not only with authority but with purpose. To be a leader is to see what others cannot see, and then to act with courage and conviction until they see it too. Remember this, people don't follow titles, they follow vision. When you dare to look beyond the present, when you imagine what could be, and when you invite others into that vision, you stop being just another voice in the crowd. You become a leader who shapes the future. Chapter 3: Building Trust, the Foundation of Influence. If leadership were a building, trust would be its foundation. Without trust, no vision, no strategy, no talent, and no authority can hold things together. A leader without trust may be followed out of obligation, fear, or convenience, but never out of loyalty. And loyalty is what sustains influence through challenges, setbacks, and seasons of change. Trust is the invisible currency of leadership. You can't buy it, you can't demand it, and you can't fake it, not for long. It is earned day by day, through words and actions that align, through promises made and promises kept. If you want to lead effectively, you must start here, building trust. Why trust matters in leadership. Think of the people you've followed or admired most in your life. Chances are, you trusted them. You trusted their judgment, their intentions, and their ability to look out for something greater than themselves. Trust transforms leadership from a transaction into a relationship. Without it, people may comply, but they will not commit. With it, they'll go beyond what is required, because they believe in you and the cause you represent. Here's a truth worth remembering. People don't give their best to leaders they don't trust. They may show up, but they won't show their hearts. The 3 pillars of trust. Trust is not built overnight, but it can be cultivated by focusing on 3 essential pillars: character, competence, and consistency. Character, who you are. Character is the foundation of trust. Do you act with honesty? Do you put people before profit? Do you own up to mistakes instead of hiding them? Leaders of character may not be perfect, but they are real. People trust those who demonstrate integrity. Competence, what you can do. Good intentions are not enough. To earn trust, you must also be capable. People want to know that you not only care, but that you have the skills and wisdom to lead them toward success. When a leader is both caring and competent, followers feel safe. Consistency, what you do repeatedly. Trust grows with predictability. If your behavior is steady, fair, and dependable, people will trust you. But if your mood swings, your values shift, or your promises evaporate, trust collapses. Consistency shows people that they can count on you. How trust is earned and lost. Trust is like a bank account. Every time you keep a promise, show up for someone, or act with integrity, you make a deposit. Every time you break a promise, fail to listen, or act selfishly, you make a withdrawal. Build up enough deposits, and people will extend you grace when you stumble. But if your account is empty, even one small mistake can bankrupt your credibility. This is why trust takes time to earn, but only a moment to lose. The role of vulnerability in trust. Some leaders think they must appear flawless to be trusted. The opposite is true. People don't trust perfection, they trust authenticity. When you admit your mistakes, when you say, "I don't know," when you show that you too are human, people lean in. Vulnerability builds bridges. A leader who pretends to have all the answers creates distance. But a leader who admits weakness, yet keeps striving, inspires loyalty. Because followers realize, if they can be real, so can I. Trust and communication. Trust thrives in the light of open communication. A lack of information creates suspicion, while transparency creates confidence. Great leaders overcommunicate, not to control, but to clarify. Ask yourself, do I share information openly? Do I listen as much as I speak? Do I explain not just what we are doing, but why? The more people feel informed and heard, the more they will trust you. Trust in times of crisis. It's easy to lead when everything is going well. But trust is tested in the storm. In times of crisis, when resources are scarce, when uncertainty is high, when fear is everywhere, people watch their leaders more closely than ever. Do you stay calm? Do you take responsibility instead of shifting blame? Do you protect your people even at personal cost? Crisis doesn't destroy trust, it reveals it. And if you've built it well, it will carry you through. Practical ways to build trust every day. Trust is not built by grand gestures alone. It's in the daily choices you make. Here are some practices that strengthen it. Keep your word. Even small promises matter. If you say you'll call, call. If you commit to a deadline, meet it. Be present. Give people your full attention. When you listen deeply, you communicate respect and care. Give credit, take responsibility. Celebrate others when things go right. Take ownership when things go wrong. This is the mark of a true leader. Lead by example. Never ask others to do what you are unwilling to do yourself. Your actions must match your expectations. Respect boundaries. Show that you value people not just for their output, but for their humanity. This earns deep and lasting trust. The ripple effect of trust. When a leader builds trust, it spreads. People trust each other more, teamwork improves, and creativity flourishes. Why? Because trust removes fear. When people aren't afraid of being betrayed, criticized, or ignored, they take risks, share ideas, and support one another. In contrast, in environments where leaders are untrustworthy, people become defensive, secretive, and divided. Fear replaces collaboration, and progress stalls. Trust isn't just good for relationships. It's the fuel for innovation, resilience, and long-term success. Trust in different leadership roles. No matter what role you hold, trust is always the foundation. Parents earn trust by showing love and keeping their word. Teachers earn trust by caring for students' growth, not just grades. Managers earn trust by supporting employees, not exploiting them. Friends earn trust by being reliable and present. Leadership isn't limited to titles. It's about influence. And wherever influence exists, trust is the currency that makes it valuable. Reflection exercise. Measuring your trustworthiness. Take a moment and ask yourself these questions honestly. Do people know me as someone who keeps promises? Do I admit mistakes, or do I hide them? Do others feel safe sharing their honest thoughts with me? Do I prioritize people, or only results? Your answers reveal where you can strengthen trust. Remember, building trust is a journey. It's about progress, not perfection. Closing thought. At its core, leadership is not about power, it's about partnership. And partnership is impossible without trust. When you live with integrity, when you show both competence and care, when you remain steady through challenges, you become a leader others can believe in. You don't just hold authority, you hold hearts. Never forget, vision may inspire, strategy may guide, but it is trust that holds everything together. Without it, leadership crumbles. With it, your influence becomes unshakable. So, if you want to be a leader who lasts, start with this foundation. Build trust, and everything else will follow. Chapter 4. Communication that inspires action. Leadership without communication is like a fire without oxygen. It cannot last. You can have the clearest vision, the best strategy, and the deepest knowledge, but if you cannot communicate it in a way that moves people, your leadership will always fall short. Communication is not just about speaking, it is about connecting. And the leaders who change lives, ignite movements, and leave legacies are not always the ones who speak the loudest, but the ones who speak in ways that reach both the minds and hearts of their people. When you learn to communicate effectively, you unlock one of the greatest powers of leadership, the ability to turn ideas into action. Why communication defines leadership. History is full of examples of leaders whose communication shaped nations and generations. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. standing before thousands and declaring, "I have a dream." Think of Winston Churchill rallying Britain in its darkest hours with his unshakable words, "We shall never surrender." Notice something. They weren't simply giving information. They were giving inspiration. They didn't just say what was happening. They spoke to what could happen. They painted pictures in people's minds that made them believe in a future worth fighting for. That's the heart of leadership communication. Not just telling people what to do, but inspiring them to do it with passion and purpose. The difference between speaking and communicating. Anyone can speak. Few truly communicate. Speaking is about words. Communication is about connection. Speaking fills time. Communication fills hearts. Speaking tells people what you think. Communication makes people feel understood. As a leader, your goal is not simply to transfer information. It is to build a bridge of trust, clarity, and inspiration. When you master this, people don't just hear you, they follow you. The 4 dimensions of leadership communication. To communicate in a way that inspires action, you must grow in 4 key areas: clarity, emotion, relevance, and call to action. Clarity. Say it so people understand. The best leaders are masters of simplicity. They don't hide behind complicated jargon or endless explanations. They strip down their message to the core truth and deliver it with clarity. If your people don't understand you, they cannot follow you. Emotion. Say it so people feel it. Humans are not moved by logic alone. They are moved by emotion. Leaders who inspire don't just speak to the head, they speak to the heart. They use stories, metaphors, and passion to stir something deep inside others. Relevance. Say it so people see themselves in it. A message must connect to people's reality. Great communicators frame their words around their audience's struggles, dreams, and needs. They make people feel, this is about me. This matters to my life. Call to action. Say it so people know what to do next. Inspiration without direction leads nowhere. A leader's message must always answer the question, what now? Clear, actionable steps turn words into momentum. When these 4 dimensions come together, clarity, emotion, relevance, and action, communication becomes transformational. The power of storytelling. Facts inform, but stories transform. Stories are the oldest and most powerful form of communication. They bypass resistance, capture imagination, and touch the human spirit. A leader who tells stories doesn't just transfer knowledge, they transfer belief. Think about it. When a teacher shares a story from their own life, don't you lean in? When a CEO shares a customer's journey, don't you remember it more than the charts and numbers? Stories make ideas stick. As a leader, learn to weave stories into your communication. Stories of struggle, of triumph, of lessons learned. Stories make you relatable, and relatability builds trust. Listening. The other side of communication. Too many leaders forget this truth. Communication is not just about talking, it is about listening. People feel valued when they are heard. When you truly listen, without rushing, without judgment, you communicate respect. And when people feel respected, they open their hearts to your message. A leader who talks but never listens eventually loses their audience. But a leader who listens well earns the right to be heard. Communication in different contexts. Not all communication is the same. A great leader knows how to adapt their style to the situation. In public speeches, use vision and storytelling to inspire large groups. In team meetings, use clarity and direction to create focus. In one-on-one conversations, use empathy and listening to build trust. In written messages, use simplicity and structure to avoid confusion. Each context requires a different approach, but the principles remain the same. Connect, inspire, and guide. Common mistakes leaders make in communication. Even well-meaning leaders can weaken their influence by falling into traps like talking too much and leaving no room for others, overcomplicating messages with too much detail, using fear or manipulation instead of inspiration, failing to follow up words with consistent actions. Remember this. People will forget most of what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Practical steps to communicate with impact. Here are simple practices you can start using today. Prepare your message. Don't just speak off the cuff. Know your key point and stick to it. Use stories and examples. Make your message human and memorable. Engage with questions. Invite feedback and participation. Watch your nonverbal cues. Body language, tone, and eye contact speak louder than words. Be authentic. Speak from the heart, not from a script. People can feel the difference. Communication that inspires loyalty. Great leaders don't just communicate what they want done, they communicate why it matters. They don't just share goals, they share meaning. When people understand the why, they are willing to give more of themselves, even in tough times. This is why leaders who inspire through communication create loyalty. Followers don't just show up for the paycheck, the project, or the task. They show up because they believe in the leader and the mission. Reflection exercise. Your communication audit. Take a moment to reflect on your own leadership communication. Do people leave conversations with you feeling clearer or more confused? Do you speak in ways that inspire action or just transfer information? Do you listen as much as you talk? Do your words align with your actions? Your answers reveal how effectively you're using communication as a tool of influence. Closing thought. At the core of leadership lies the ability to move people, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And the bridge between your vision and their action is communication. When you speak with clarity, touch hearts with emotion, connect with relevance, and guide with action, you don't just inform, you transform. You become a leader whose words breathe life, whose stories inspire courage, and whose voice calls people into greatness. Remember this, leadership communication is not about making speeches. It is about sparking change. So as you continue your journey, don't just ask, "What do I need to say?" Ask instead, "What do my people need to feel, understand, and do?" Lead with that answer, and your words will always inspire action. Chapter 5. Emotional Intelligence. Leading with Empathy and Awareness. Leadership is often pictured as strength, authority, or bold decision-making. But behind every effective leader lies something quieter, yet more powerful: emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, both in yourself and in others. It's the invisible thread that connects leaders to their teams, builds trust, and sustains influence over the long term. Many people rise to positions of leadership through knowledge, skill, or ambition. But the ones who stay in leadership and leave lasting impact are those who learn to lead not only with their minds but also with their hearts. Let's explore how emotional intelligence makes the difference between being a boss and being a true leader. The two sides of leadership: IQ and EQ. Leadership requires intelligence, no doubt. You need strategy, problem-solving, and knowledge of your field. That's IQ. But IQ alone doesn't inspire people. It doesn't help you navigate conflict, motivate individuals, or understand what's going on beneath the surface of your team. That's where EQ steps in. Here's the key difference. IQ gets you into leadership. EQ keeps you there and multiplies your influence. A leader with high EQ knows when to push and when to pause. They know when to speak and when to listen. They can sense the emotional temperature of a room and respond with wisdom. The 5 pillars of emotional intelligence in leadership. To lead with empathy and awareness, you need to grow in 5 key dimensions of emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, recognizing your own emotions, strengths, and blind spots. Self-regulation, managing your impulses, moods, and reactions under pressure. Motivation, staying driven by vision and values, not just rewards or recognition. Empathy, understanding and valuing the emotions of others. Social skills, building strong, healthy relationships and resolving conflicts effectively. Let's unpack these pillars and see how they apply to leadership. 1. Self-awareness, the mirror of leadership. The journey of emotional intelligence begins with looking inward. Self-awareness means being honest with yourself about your strengths and weaknesses, your triggers, and your emotions. Too many leaders lack self-awareness, and as a result, they unintentionally damage trust. For example, if you don't realize that your tone comes across as dismissive, your team may feel undervalued. If you don't see your impatience, people may feel rushed and disrespected. A self-aware leader is not perfect, but they are honest enough to recognize their imperfections and humble enough to work on them. Reflection, journaling, and feedback are powerful tools for increasing self-awareness. 2. Self-regulation. Mastering your reactions. Great leaders are not those who never feel anger, stress, or frustration. They are the ones who learn to manage those emotions instead of being controlled by them. Self-regulation is the ability to pause before reacting, to stay calm under pressure, and to lead with steadiness even when everything feels chaotic. Think about it. If a leader loses their temper in every crisis, their team begins to fear rather than trust them. But if a leader keeps composure, people feel safe and grounded, even in uncertainty. Self-regulation doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means expressing them wisely. For example, saying, instead of shouting in frustration, you calmly state, "I'm concerned about this situation, let's figure out a solution." That shift in tone can change the entire atmosphere of a team. 3. Motivation. Leading with purpose. Motivation in emotional intelligence is not about chasing rewards or avoiding punishment, it's about being driven by a deeper purpose. Leaders with high EQ are motivated by vision. They inspire people not just through words, but through the passion they bring into every project. When your team sees that you're motivated by something larger than yourself, they catch that fire. Motivation is contagious. Ask yourself, do I show up each day just to complete tasks, or do I show up with passion that others can feel? 4. Empathy, the heart of leadership. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's shoes, to see the world through their eyes. Too many leaders overlook this, thinking leadership is only about strategy. But without empathy, you miss the human element that makes leadership work. Empathy doesn't mean being soft or avoiding hard decisions. It means considering how your decisions affect people and showing genuine care for their well-being. For example, an empathetic leader doesn't just say, "Meet the deadline." They ask, "What obstacles are you facing, and how can I help you succeed?" That small difference makes people feel valued. And when people feel valued, they give their best. 5. Social skills. Building relationships that last. The final pillar of EQ is the ability to build strong relationships. Leadership is influence, and influence flows through relationships. Leaders with strong social skills know how to communicate, resolve conflicts, and unite people around a common goal. They don't avoid tough conversations, but they handle them with respect. When conflict arises, instead of fueling division, they act as bridges. They know that unity is not automatic. It's cultivated through consistent relationship building. Why emotional intelligence outlasts authority. Authority can make people obey. Emotional intelligence makes people follow. A leader who rules by authority alone may get short-term compliance, but they will never inspire long-term loyalty. People might do what you say when you're in the room, but when you leave, their hearts aren't with you. But a leader who leads with empathy, awareness, and connection wins hearts. And when you win hearts, you gain influence that outlasts titles and positions. Practical ways to grow emotional intelligence. Here are some steps you can practice as a leader. Pause before reacting. When emotions rise, take a breath before responding. Ask questions. Instead of assuming, ask your team how they feel or what they need. Practice active listening. Don't just hear words. Pay attention to tone, body language, and emotion. Seek feedback. Ask trusted people where you may lack awareness. Show gratitude. Recognize and appreciate others often. It builds emotional connection. Reflection exercise. The empathy challenge. Think of one person on your team or in your life who seems difficult to connect with. Instead of focusing on their behavior, ask yourself, what might they be feeling right now? What pressures or struggles might they be carrying? How could I approach them with empathy rather than frustration? Sometimes a single moment of empathy can turn an adversary into an ally. Closing thought. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skill. It's a leadership superpower. It allows you to understand yourself, connect with others, and create an environment where people thrive. A leader with high EQ inspires loyalty, earns respect, and builds trust that no title or position could ever secure. As you grow in self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, you won't just lead projects, you'll lead people. And that is the kind of leadership that endures. Remember this. People may forget what you say or even what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Lead with that truth, and you will become the kind of leader who changes lives. Chapter 6. Decision-Making Under Pressure. Balancing Logic and Intuition. Leadership often looks glamorous from the outside, standing tall, giving direction, inspiring confidence. But what many people don't see is the weight of responsibility leaders carry, especially when decisions must be made under pressure. In times of uncertainty, when the stakes are high and time is short, everyone looks to the leader for clarity. And in that moment, leadership is tested not by what you know in theory but by what you decide in reality. This is where the art of balancing logic and intuition becomes crucial. The pressure cooker of leadership. Pressure changes the way we think. Under stress, emotions rise, adrenaline spikes, and the brain tends to go into fight-or-flight mode. For many, this leads to rushed, fear-based decisions. But the best leaders don't panic. They harness pressure to sharpen focus. They know that in crisis, clarity is more valuable than perfection. Think about great leaders in history. Military generals, CEOs, or even sports coaches. Their defining moments weren't when everything was calm. Their legacy was forged in the fire of high-stakes decisions. Logic and intuition, the two sides of decision-making. When making decisions, especially under pressure, leaders often rely on two primary tools, logic and intuition. Logic is deliberate, structured, analytical. It looks at facts, data, and evidence. It asks, what are the risks? What are the probabilities? What makes sense on paper? Intuition is fast, instinctive, and subconscious. It draws from experience, pattern recognition, and a deeper sense of gut feeling. It asks, what feels right? What aligns with my vision and values? Both are valuable. But here's the key. Great leaders don't choose between logic and intuition, they learn to balance them. When logic leads. Logic is essential when decisions require clear analysis and long-term planning. For example, choosing a strategy for company growth, evaluating financial risks, making technical or operational decisions. Logic forces you to slow down, remove emotion, and consider the facts. It helps you avoid reckless moves that might feel right in the moment but carry hidden consequences. Leaders who lean too heavily on intuition without logic often end up gambling. But leaders who rely only on logic without trusting their instincts may freeze, overanalyze, or miss opportunities. When intuition leads. Intuition shines in moments where time is short, information is incomplete, and hesitation could cost everything. Imagine a firefighter deciding which way to move in a collapsing building, or a CEO facing a PR crisis with cameras rolling. There's no time to crunch numbers or debate endlessly. Intuition must step in. But intuition is not random guesswork. It's the mind drawing on experience, values, and subconscious recognition of patterns. For example, a leader who has spent years in their industry might instantly sense when a deal feels off, even if the spreadsheets look fine. That gut feeling comes from subtle cues their logical mind hasn't yet processed. The balance: logic as the map, intuition as the compass. Think of logic as the map. It shows you the terrain, the roads, the distances. Intuition is the compass. It helps you sense direction when the path isn't clear. If you rely only on the map, you may get stuck analyzing routes while the moment passes. If you rely only on the compass, you might head into uncharted danger. But together, map and compass, you navigate with wisdom. Strategies for decision-making under pressure. So how can leaders balance logic and intuition when the heat is on? Here are some powerful approaches. Pause and breathe. Pressure pushes us toward rash decisions. A short pause, a deep breath, a moment of silence, can calm emotions and give clarity. Even a few seconds can change everything. Clarify the objective. Ask yourself, what outcome am I really aiming for? Many poor decisions come from reacting to symptoms instead of focusing on the true objective. Assess the facts quickly. Identify what you know for sure versus what is uncertain. Facts ground you when emotions are high. Trust your preparation. Intuition is strongest when built on experience. If you've done the work, your instincts are not random. They are informed. Run the worst-case scenario. Ask, if this fails, can we survive it? This helps filter risky decisions from reckless ones. Consult quickly. Decide firmly. In pressure situations, seek input from trusted voices, but don't drag out the process. Show confidence once the decision is made. Commit and adjust. No decision is ever perfect. Once you act, commit fully, but stay flexible enough to adjust if new information emerges. Examples of leadership in decision-making. Winston Churchill during World War II often balanced logic with instinct. His decisions weren't always popular or data-supported, but his intuition about morale and timing often proved right. Steve Jobs relied heavily on intuition when creating products people didn't even know they wanted, but he also used logic to ensure they were practical and marketable. Emergency room doctors rely on a blend of training, logic, and instinct, intuition, every day, making life-or-death decisions within seconds. These leaders show us that success under pressure isn't about perfect information. It's about wise judgment. The danger of overthinking versus impulsiveness. Two common traps sabotage leaders under pressure. Overthinking. Spending so much time analyzing that opportunities slip away. Impulsiveness. Acting too quickly without considering consequences. Balancing logic and intuition protects you from both. Logic prevents recklessness. Intuition prevents paralysis. Reflection exercise. Your pressure test. Think back to the last high-pressure decision you made. Ask yourself, did I lean more on logic or intuition? Was that the right balance for the situation? How could I improve next time? Write down your reflections. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns in how you make decisions and how to strengthen your balance. Closing thought. Every leader will face moments where the pressure is crushing and the stakes are high. In those moments, your people don't just need a decision. They need confidence, clarity, and courage. Balancing logic and intuition allows you to make decisions that are both wise and timely. It helps you avoid paralysis while also steering clear of reckless impulses. Remember this: logic is your anchor. Intuition is your sail. Without both, you cannot navigate the storms of leadership. The best leaders learn to use their head and their heart together, even under the heaviest pressure. And in doing so, they become the steady hand that guides others through uncertainty toward victory. Chapter 7. Developing Resilience. Leading Through Adversity. If leadership were easy, everyone would do it. But the truth is, leadership comes with storms, setbacks, and struggles that can shake even the strongest person to their core. The true test of a leader is not how they perform when the skies are clear. It's how they endure, adapt, and rise when everything seems to be falling apart. This is where resilience comes in. Resilience is not about avoiding challenges or pretending adversity doesn't hurt. It's about facing difficulty head-on, standing firm when the winds of chaos blow, and bouncing back stronger after each trial. Resilient leaders don't crumble under pressure. They bend but don't break. They transform adversity into wisdom, pain into fuel, and setbacks into stepping stones. Why resilience matters in leadership. Every leader, no matter how skilled or intelligent, will face adversity. It might be a financial crisis, a failed project, public criticism, or even betrayal from within their own team. In those moments, followers don't just look for strategy or intelligence, they look for strength. They want to see whether their leader can withstand the storm without losing hope or direction. Resilience builds trust. People will follow a leader who proves they can remain steady in turbulence. In fact, resilience is often more inspiring than success itself. Resilience versus toughness. It's important to understand that resilience is not the same as toughness. Toughness is about putting up a wall, pretending nothing affects you. It often masks vulnerability and denies emotion. Resilience is about facing reality honestly, acknowledging pain, but refusing to let it defeat you. It allows vulnerability but transforms it into strength. A tough leader may look strong for a moment but risks burnout and disconnection. A resilient leader, on the other hand, grows stronger with every challenge, and their people feel that growth. The core pillars of resilience in leadership. Purpose, the anchor in the storm. Resilient leaders know why they're leading. Purpose gives them the strength to keep moving forward when everything else fails. Without purpose, adversity feels meaningless. With purpose, adversity becomes part of a mission. Think of Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years in prison yet emerged with hope and vision intact. What carried him through? Purpose. Adaptability, the power of flexibility. Rigid leaders break under pressure. Resilient leaders adjust. They pivot strategies when old ones fail, but they never abandon their core vision. They treat adversity not as a dead end but as a detour. If one door closes, they find another. Optimism, seeing light in the darkness. This is not blind positivity but a grounded belief that setbacks are temporary and solutions exist. Resilient leaders don't deny reality. They acknowledge challenges while still projecting hope. Their optimism becomes fuel for their team. Emotional regulation, staying calm in the chaos. Resilient leaders don't let fear, anger, or despair control their decisions. They process emotions, but they don't act out of them. Their calm presence stabilizes the group, even in the storm. Learning from adversity. Every challenge carries a lesson. Resilient leaders ask, "What can this teach me? How can this make us stronger?" Instead of resenting difficulty, they treat it as a master teacher. The leader's role in hard times. When adversity hits, leaders are often under greater scrutiny than ever before. Every word, every expression, every decision is magnified. If the leader panics, the team panics. If the leader gives up, the team gives up. But if the leader remains steady, the team finds strength. This doesn't mean leaders must be perfect. In fact, showing vulnerability can build trust. But resilience means balancing honesty with hope, admitting that times are hard, while still holding the vision of better days ahead. Stories of resilience in leadership. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated defeats, political losses, personal tragedy, and the immense weight of the Civil War. Yet his resilience helped preserve a nation. Oprah Winfrey turned a childhood of poverty and trauma into a platform of global influence, inspiring millions by refusing to be defined by her past. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating a working light bulb. When asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." These examples remind us, resilience doesn't eliminate adversity, but it transforms it into greatness. Practical ways to build resilience as a leader. Reframe challenges. Instead of asking, "Why me?" resilient leaders ask, "What can I learn? How can this make me better?" Strengthen your support system. Resilient leaders don't isolate themselves. They build networks of mentors, peers, and trusted allies. Support provides perspective and encouragement in dark times. Develop daily habits of strength. Resilience is built in small practices: journaling, meditation, exercise, reflection. These daily disciplines strengthen the mind and spirit before adversity strikes. Take care of your energy. Fatigue makes everything harder. Resilient leaders guard their physical, mental, and emotional energy because they know endurance is a long game. Led by example. Resilience is contagious. When leaders display courage and calm under pressure, their teams mirror that strength. Resilience in the face of criticism. One of the most common adversities leaders face is criticism. The higher you rise, the more visible you become, and the more opinions you'll attract. Resilient leaders learn not to take every voice to heart. They distinguish between constructive feedback, which makes them better, and destructive criticism, which they simply release. As Winston Churchill famously said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." Resilience as a legacy. Adversity doesn't just test a leader, it defines them. Long after you are gone, people won't remember the easy victories. They'll remember how you led through the storm. Resilient leaders leave behind a legacy of courage, endurance, and faith. They show others that no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes. Reflection exercise. Your adversity story. Take a moment to think of one major challenge you faced in your life or leadership. Ask yourself, how did I respond? What strengths did I discover? What lessons did I carry forward? Write this down. This becomes part of your resilience story, something you can draw on, and something that can inspire others when they face their own battles. Closing thought. Resilience doesn't mean you won't fall. It means you'll rise every time you do. It means refusing to let adversity define you, and instead letting it refine you. Great leaders don't escape hardship, they grow through it. They walk into the storm not because they enjoy the struggle, but because they know the storm is shaping them into something greater. Remember this, leadership is not proven in calm waters. It is proven in the storm. And resilience is the anchor that keeps you, and those you lead, from drifting away. Chapter 8. Empowering Others. Multiplying your leadership impact. True leadership is not about how much you can accomplish by yourself. It's about how much you can enable others to accomplish. The greatest leaders in history are remembered not just for their personal brilliance, but for how they inspired, equipped, and empowered those around them to rise to their full potential. Think about it. If leadership was only about personal performance, it would end when the leader is gone. But empowering leadership multiplies. It outlives the leader. It creates a ripple effect that can last for generations. The shift from control to empowerment. Many new or insecure leaders fall into the trap of control. They believe leadership means directing every detail, making every decision, and holding all the authority. But this approach suffocates creativity and limits growth. Empowerment requires a mindset shift from "how much can I do?" to "how much can we do together?" When leaders empower, they release control in order to build capacity in others. They understand that the measure of their leadership is not what they achieve alone, but what others achieve because of their influence. Why empowerment matters. Empowering others is not just a nice leadership quality. It is essential for long-term success. Here's why. It multiplies impact. One leader's effort is limited. But when that leader develops and empowers 10 more leaders, the impact multiplies tenfold. Empowerment is exponential leadership. It builds loyalty and trust. People feel valued when their leader trusts them with responsibility. Empowerment communicates belief in someone's ability, which in turn builds loyalty and commitment. It develops future leaders. Organizations and teams stagnate without succession. Empowering others ensures there's always someone ready to step up when new challenges arise, or when the leader steps aside. It creates innovation. When people are trusted to think and act, they bring fresh ideas and perspectives. Empowered teams innovate more because they are free to take initiative. The foundations of empowering leadership. So, how do you actually empower others? It's more than just delegating tasks. It's about building an environment where people can thrive, grow, and contribute at their highest level. Believe in people. Empowerment starts with belief. You must see potential in people, even when they don't see it in themselves. Great leaders are talent spotters. They recognize gifts, strengths, and possibilities before others do. Provide vision and clarity. Empowerment without direction creates chaos. People need to know not just what they're doing, but why. A shared vision provides the framework for empowerment, ensuring everyone moves in the same direction. Equip with tools and skills. You can't just say, "You're empowered," and walk away. True empowerment equips people with the resources, training, and support they need to succeed. It's giving them the tools and the trust. Grant authority, not just responsibility. Too often, leaders give responsibility but withhold authority. This sets people up to fail. Empowerment means trusting them to make decisions and take ownership, not just carry out orders. Encourage risk-taking and learning. If people fear punishment for mistakes, they'll never step up. Empowering leaders create safe spaces for learning, risk-taking, and innovation. They don't punish failure, they extract lessons from it. The leader as a multiplier. Liz Wiseman, in her book Multipliers, describes two types of leaders. Diminishers, who drain capability and confidence, making others feel small. Multipliers, who amplify intelligence, unlock potential, and make others feel bigger. Great leaders are multipliers. They don't hoard the spotlight, they shine it on others. They don't create followers, they create leaders. Stories of empowering leadership. Mahatma Gandhi didn't seek to be the hero of India's independence. He empowered millions through nonviolent resistance, making ordinary people the drivers of change. Steve Jobs, though demanding, empowered creative talent like Johnny Ive to design groundbreaking products that changed industries. Mother Teresa empowered thousands of volunteers to carry out missions of compassion, multiplying her impact across the world. Each of these leaders shows that true greatness comes not from doing everything yourself but from enabling others to rise. Practical ways to empower others. Here are concrete steps you can take as a leader to practice empowerment. Delegate meaningful work. Don't just give away small tasks. Empowerment means entrusting people with work that matters, projects where their contribution has real impact. Celebrate strengths. Call out what people do well. When you recognize their unique strengths, you affirm their value and encourage them to grow in those areas. Coach, don't micromanage. Guide, ask questions, and provide feedback, but don't control every step. Coaching empowers people to find their own solutions, while micromanaging breeds dependence. Create leadership opportunities. Invite people to lead meetings, present ideas, or take charge of initiatives. These small opportunities build confidence and prepare them for bigger responsibilities. Share credit, shoulder blame. Empowering leaders give credit when things go right and take responsibility when things go wrong. This builds a culture of trust and inspires people to step up without fear. The challenges of empowerment. Let's be honest, empowering others is not always easy. Sometimes people will disappoint you. Sometimes they won't deliver as you hoped. But here's the truth. Empowerment involves risk. Yet the risk of not empowering is far greater. If you cling to control, you'll cap your growth, stifle your team, and exhaust yourself trying to do it all. Empowerment requires patience. It requires faith. And it requires seeing beyond short-term setbacks to long-term growth. The ripple effect of empowerment. The beauty of empowerment is that it doesn't stop with the people you directly influence. Those you empower go on to empower others. Your impact multiplies in ways you may never fully see. Consider teachers who inspire students to believe in themselves. Those students carry that belief into their careers, families, and communities. One empowered life can touch hundreds, even thousands of others. That's the legacy of an empowering leader. They don't just build organizations, they build people. Reflection exercise. Who can you empower? Pause for a moment and think. Who in your life, your workplace, or your circle is waiting for someone to believe in them? Who has untapped potential that just needs encouragement and opportunity? Write down 1 or 2 names. Then ask yourself, what's one way I can empower this person this week? Maybe it's giving them responsibility, maybe it's speaking words of belief, maybe it's creating a chance for them to shine. Remember, empowerment doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes a simple word of trust can change the course of someone's life. Closing thought. The measure of a leader is not found in how many people serve them, but in how many people they serve. It's not about building a personal empire, but about building others into leaders themselves. Empowering others is the highest form of leadership because it outlives you. It ensures that the vision continues, the mission grows, and the impact multiplies long after you're gone. So, ask yourself, am I holding on to control, or am I multiplying my impact by empowering those around me? Chapter 9. Leading with Integrity. The Moral Compass of Leadership. What truly makes a leader worth following? Is it their vision, their charisma, their intelligence, or their accomplishments? While all of these are valuable, none of them matter without one essential foundation: integrity. Integrity is the bedrock of leadership. It's the invisible thread that binds together trust, credibility, and influence. A leader may be talented, innovative, or even inspiring, but if they lack integrity, their leadership eventually collapses. Integrity is the moral compass of leadership. It guides decisions, anchors values, and ensures that power is used not for selfish gain but for the good of others. What is integrity, really? Integrity is often defined as honesty, but it's more than that. It comes from the Latin word integritas, which means wholeness or completeness. To live with integrity means to live undivided, to be the same person in private as you are in public, in small matters as in great ones. It means your actions align with your words, and your words align with your values. There's no hidden agenda, no double life, no deception. People of integrity are trustworthy because they are consistent. They don't change their values to suit convenience. They don't compromise when temptation arises. They choose what's right even when it's hard. Why integrity matters in leadership. In leadership, integrity isn't optional. It's essential. Here's why. Integrity builds trust. Trust is the currency of leadership. Without it, people may follow out of fear, obligation, or necessity, but not willingly, not wholeheartedly. Integrity builds trust because people know you mean what you say, and you'll do what you promise. Integrity sustains influence. Charisma may win attention, but only integrity keeps it. Leaders who compromise their values may rise quickly, but they fall just as fast. Integrity is what sustains long-term influence. Integrity provides clarity in decision-making. Leaders often face gray areas, conflicting pressures, and moral dilemmas. Integrity provides a compass. It doesn't always make decisions easy, but it makes them clear. Integrity leaves a legacy. The true legacy of a leader is not in their accomplishments but in their character. People may forget your titles, but they will never forget whether you treated them with honesty, fairness, and respect. Stories of integrity in leadership. History offers powerful examples of leaders who stood firm on integrity. Abraham Lincoln, known as Honest Abe, often made unpopular choices guided by his moral compass rather than political advantage. His integrity became a defining feature of his presidency. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, refusing to compromise his principles of justice and equality. When he emerged, his integrity gave him moral authority to lead a divided nation toward reconciliation. Mahatma Gandhi lived with remarkable consistency between his words and his life. His integrity fueled a movement of nonviolence that transformed history. On the flip side, we've also seen leaders without integrity, those whose lies, corruption, or betrayal destroyed not only their careers but also the trust of entire nations or organizations. Their downfall serves as a reminder: without integrity, leadership cannot last. The challenges of leading with integrity. Integrity sounds noble, but it's not always easy. Leaders often face situations where compromise looks tempting. The pressure of success. When results are demanded, leaders may be tempted to cut corners, exaggerate numbers, or sacrifice principles for quick wins. The fear of loss. Integrity may cost you friends, opportunities, money, or even your position. Many compromise because they fear losing what they value most. The lure of power. Power can corrupt. Leaders who start with good intentions may bend their values once they taste authority. This is why integrity requires courage. It demands choosing long-term respect over short-term reward, choosing what is right over what is easy. How to cultivate integrity as a leader. Define your core values. Integrity begins with clarity. You must know what you stand for, your non-negotiables, the principles you will not compromise. Write them down. Reflect on them. Let them guide your leadership. Align words with actions. Don't promise what you can't deliver. Don't say one thing to one person and the opposite to another. Consistency is the heartbeat of integrity. Be transparent. Leaders of integrity don't hide mistakes or cover up failures. They admit shortcomings, take responsibility, and seek solutions openly. Transparency builds credibility. Surround yourself with accountability. No one is above temptation. Wise leaders invite accountability. Mentors, peers, or boards who will hold them responsible for their actions and decisions. Make the hard choices. Integrity is tested not in easy decisions, but in hard ones, when honesty might cost you, when doing right is unpopular, when shortcuts are tempting. In those moments, integrity shines brightest. The ripple effect of integrity. Integrity is contagious. When a leader models it, others are inspired to live by it too. It creates a culture where truth, fairness, and trust are valued. Think about it. When a leader cheats, others feel justified in cheating. When a leader is dishonest, others learn that dishonesty is acceptable. But when a leader lives with integrity, they set a standard that lifts the entire team or organization. In fact, the greatest gift a leader can give is not inspiration, strategy, or even vision. It is an example of integrity. Reflection exercise. Your integrity check. Take a moment to reflect honestly on your leadership. Do my actions consistently match my words? Are there areas in my life where I compromise my values for convenience or approval? If someone observed my private life, would it align with the image I project publicly? When I face hard choices, do I choose what is right or what is easy? These questions aren't meant to condemn, but to guide. Leadership is a journey, and integrity is strengthened by daily choices. Closing thought. At the end of the day, people won't just remember what you achieved as a leader. They will remember how you achieved it. Did you manipulate or inspire? Did you cut corners or stand firm? Did you seek power for yourself, or did you serve with integrity? Integrity is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about living whole, undivided, consistent, and true. Because leadership without integrity is a house built on sand. It may stand for a moment, but eventually it falls. Leadership with integrity, however, stands the test of time. It inspires trust, creates legacy, and leaves behind a light that others can follow. So, let integrity be your compass. Let it guide your words, your actions, and your decisions. Because in the end, the greatest leaders are not just remembered for what they built, but for the unshakable integrity with which they led. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Leadership. Inspiring beyond your lifetime. Every leader eventually faces a sobering truth. Your position, your title, and even your life will not last forever. No matter how high you rise, no matter how much you achieve, the day will come when someone else takes your place. But what will last, the true measure of your leadership, is the legacy you leave behind. A legacy is not about statues, monuments, or plaques with your name on them. It is about people. It's the imprint you leave on hearts, the values you pass on, and the lives you shape long after you're gone. Leadership is not only about success in the present, it is about significance for the future. And the greatest leaders are not those who make history for themselves, but those who shape history for others. What is a leadership legacy? A leadership legacy is the impact you make that outlives you. It's the way people think, act, and lead because of your influence. A business leader may leave behind not just profits, but a culture of innovation that continues for generations. A teacher may leave behind not just knowledge, but a love of learning in their students that echoes through their careers. A parent may leave behind not just provision, but values of integrity and kindness that ripple through their children's lives. Your legacy is not what you leave to people, but what you leave in people. Why legacy matters. Many leaders chase success but forget legacy. They build empires, accumulate wealth, or achieve fame, only to see it vanish when they're gone. Legacy, however, is enduring. Legacy extends your influence. Your time as a leader is limited, but your influence can live on through those you've mentored, inspired, and empowered. Legacy gives meaning to leadership. Success is about what you achieve. Legacy is about why it mattered. It transforms leadership from a career into a calling. Legacy outlasts circumstances. Economies shift, organizations change, and achievements fade. But values, vision, and principles, when passed on, remain. Stories of leadership legacies. Consider Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't live to see the full realization of his dream, but his legacy continues to inspire movements for justice and equality around the world. Think of Mother Teresa. She didn't leave behind wealth or status, but her legacy of compassion has created organizations that still care for the poor decades after her passing. Or look at Steve Jobs. His time at Apple was turbulent, filled with both triumphs and failures, but his legacy of creativity, simplicity, and innovation continues to shape technology today. These leaders remind us, you don't measure a legacy by how long you lead, but by how deeply you impact others. How to build a leadership legacy. Live your values consistently. Legacy is built not on words, but on example. People remember how you lived more than what you said. Live out your principles in such a way that others want to carry them forward. Invest in people, not just projects. Buildings will crumble, technologies will change, and profits will be forgotten. But people endure. When you mentor, teach, and empower others, you multiply your influence into the future. Create a culture, not just results. Results matter, but culture outlasts results. A leader who builds a culture of trust, growth, and excellence creates an environment that thrives long after they're gone. Pass the baton intentionally. Great leaders don't hold on to power. They prepare the next generation to carry it. Legacy means succession, teaching others to lead even better than you did. Think long-term. Act daily. Legacy is not something you leave behind at the end of your life. It's something you build every day through small choices, consistent values, and daily impact. The ripple effect of legacy. The beauty of legacy is that it multiplies. The leader you inspire today may go on to inspire 10 more tomorrow. Your act of kindness, your word of encouragement, your example of courage, it doesn't stop with the person in front of you. It ripples outward, reaching people you may never even meet. Consider the teacher who encouraged a struggling child. That child may grow into a leader who transforms lives, all because someone believed in them. Legacy often begins with simple, unseen acts that spark change far beyond what you can imagine. The challenge of legacy thinking. Living for legacy requires a shift in perspective. It means asking not just, what can I gain now, but what will I leave behind later? This can be challenging in a world obsessed with quick results and instant gratification. But true leaders resist the lure of the immediate in order to build what lasts. It also requires humility. Building a legacy means recognizing that leadership is not about you, it's about those who come after you. Reflection. Your legacy questions. Take a moment to reflect deeply on your own leadership journey. Ask yourself, what do I want people to remember about my leadership when I'm gone? Am I building success for myself or significance for others? Who am I investing in right now who will carry my values forward? If my leadership ended today, what would my legacy be? These questions are not meant to pressure, but to guide. Every day is a chance to align your leadership with the legacy you want to leave. Closing thought. The greatest leaders are not those who are remembered for their titles, but for their timeless influence. They don't just lead for today, they inspire for tomorrow. Your legacy is not written at the end of your life. It's written every day, in every interaction, in every decision, in every life you touch. So, as you close this journey of leadership, remember, the measure of your leadership is not just in what you accomplish, but in what you leave behind. Lead with vision, with courage, with empathy, and above all with integrity. And in doing so, you will create a legacy that inspires beyond your lifetime. Because leadership is temporary, but legacy is eternal. Conclusion. Becoming the leader the world needs. Leadership is not a title you wear or a position you hold. It's the daily choice to influence with purpose, to guide with vision, and to serve with integrity. Throughout this journey, we've explored the timeless principles of leadership, the mindset that thinks beyond self, the vision that sees what others cannot, the trust that anchors influence, the communication that inspires, the emotional intelligence that connects, the decision-making that balances logic and intuition, the resilience that overcomes adversity, the empowerment that multiplies impact, the integrity that guides, and the legacy that lasts beyond a lifetime. Each of these principles is more than a lesson. It is a call to action. A reminder that leadership is not reserved for the few. It is a responsibility within reach of us all. The truth is this: you are already leading someone. Whether it's your family, your team, your friends, or even yourself, your influence matters. The only question is, what kind of leader will you choose to be? Will you settle for comfort, or will you rise to the challenge of becoming the leader the world desperately needs? Remember this: leaders are not born. They are built through choices, habits, and daily actions. And every day you have the chance to lead with courage, with compassion, and with conviction. So, as you step forward from this audiobook, carry these timeless principles with you. Apply them not just in your career, but in your character. Not just in boardrooms, but in living rooms. Not just for today, but for the generations yet to come. Because when you choose to lead with vision, integrity, and heart, you do more than achieve success. You inspire significance. You build not just results, but a legacy. A personal invitation. If this audiobook has inspired you, if it has given you tools to think, act, and lead differently, then I invite you to continue this journey with me. There is so much more to discover, so many more lessons to explore, and so many opportunities to grow into the leader you were meant to be. So, make sure to subscribe, follow, and stay connected, because together we are building a community of leaders who will shape the future. And remember, leadership isn't about waiting for the right time or perfect conditions. It's about stepping up, right where you are, with what you have, and leading with all that you are. The world doesn't just need more followers. It needs more courageous, visionary, and compassionate leaders. Be that leader. Leave that legacy. And let your influence echo long after your lifetime. Sparkles, that's the end of this audiobook, but it's only the beginning of your leadership journey.